Hi, and welcome to this video. This is the third tutorial on ABI FlexiCapture as a part of ABI 101 series. In the previous tutorial, we covered the basic understanding of the default windows we see once the project is set. In this lesson, we will be going through defining three of the most commonly used search elements and configuring their basic properties. These search elements are of the types static text, labeled elements, and paragraphs. For this tutorial, we will be using sample recipes provided by ABI. You can find the documents at the link in the video description. We start a new project and we add the images into the default batch. When processing semi-structured documents in ABI FlexiCapture, we would normally wish to exclude documents that does not belong to the current type we're trying to match against. One way to identify a document is to mark at least one element as required. In this particular case, the document heading will make a good identifier element. To define it, we need to describe the document heading as an element of type static text. We click the Flexi Layout tab in the program main window. We select Search Elements in the Flexi Layout tree, and then we right-click over Header. We select Add Elements, Static Text. In the name field, type the name of the element, Recipe Header. Select the element to be required in the General tab because the document heading is a required one. Now we click the Static Text tab. In the Search Text field, type the text to find. If we examine the batch we have, the test documents have different headings. Easiest recipes, easy to cook recipes, for example, and for that reason, we enter both headings. The headings are written in one line on all the test documents. Therefore, we can type the headings without spaces to speed up the process of looking for the static text. We separate the two alternative headings by a pipe, which represent OR in FlexiCapture layout language. We set the maximum number of errors that the detected text may contain to 20, which means in this case 20%, allowing 5 errors among the 25 characters of the document heading. To check that the program can reliably detect the identified element, we match the Flexi layout with each image in the batch. We do that by selecting all the images, right-click, and then match. If the image and its Flexi layout has been matched successfully, the hypothesis which the program formulates about the element will be marked with a green circle in the tree of hypotheses. If you click the hypothesis, the program will draw a blue frame around the detected element. You will see the properties of the hypothesis in the properties window. You can see that the element has been correctly identified. Usually fields are detected via their labels, but not all fields on our document have labels. For example, the field containing the name of the recipe has no label. Therefore, a different approach must be used to detect this field, and we're going to keep this for a later tutorial. For the time being, we will attempt to find the recipe number, which is a labeled field. To create the recipe number element, we create an element of the type labeled field and we name it recipe number. In the label tab, we enter the label text to be recipe, hash, and a colon. In the field type position tab, we keep the settings as is. For the field position is truly to the right of the field name, and the alignment with the field label is centered. As for the search area, we check that the already specified numbers are sufficient to detect the whole field, and we find that indeed they are. In the field tab, we assume that the recipe number always contains only one line. Unlike the field label, the data in this field is not fixed, so we must describe the field content as character string. After selecting the character string, we set the alphabet. The alphabet is all the characters that may be encountered in the recipe number. Judging by the test images, the alphabet contains digits and capital letters of the English alphabet. The order of the letters and the digits is random enough so that we don't know it beforehand. To set the alphabet, we click on the three-dotted button and select the required characters in the Add New Alphabet dialog box. After we're done doing that, we set the percentage of non-alphabet characters to 20%. We click over Apply and OK, and then we match the field against the test documents in the batch. After the processing is completed, we notice that the field is correctly identified. Looking at the test images, the list of ingredients is a test fragment in a shape of a paragraph, which is always located below the word ingredients and above a separator located above the name cooking field. To make the description of the above elements easier and to restrict the number of possibilities, we group them into a group element. First, we create a group element and we name it Recipe Contents. In the Recipe Contents group, we create an element of the type static text and we name it Ingredients Header. This element will correspond to the name Ingredients. We specify the properties of the element as described earlier for static texts. Within the same group, we create an element of type separator that will correspond to the separator above the name cooking. On the separator tab, we specify the orientation of the separator to be horizontal, and in the relations tab, we specify the search constraints to be below the name ingredients. We click Apply and OK, then try matching the flexi layout. We notice that in some cases, the program treats the lower boundary of an image as a separator. This problem can be solved by adding another search constraint, noting that the separator is the one nearest to the ingredients header. We click over the Properties dialog box, and then we click over the Relations tab, and we select it to be the nearest to the element from the drop-down menu. So we click Select Element from the drop-down list, and then we specify Ingredients Header as the reference element. Then we click Apply and OK. We match the adjusted flexi layout once again, and it looks like all the instances have been correctly identified this time. Next, within the same group, we create an element of the type paragraph and we call it ingredients. This element will correspond to the ingredients field. We set the search constraints in the relation tab of the properties dialog box to be below the ingredients header, but above the separator element. We try matching the layout with the test documents and make sure the ingredients field is correctly identified in all cases. Since the default settings in the paragraph tab worked for all the sample instances we have, we will leave the properties in this tab for another tutorial. With that, we would have reached the end of this tutorial. Talk to you in the next one, and until then, happy automating.